So, first of all, welcome. This is really, really cool for me. My whole goal was to offer a holiday present to actors, models throughout the world, people interested in the industry. And that's exactly what is happening here. I was checking out the people who signed up. I was checking the questions that people have. And I tell you, it's really incredible for me. We have people from everywhere from Australia, Pakistan, throughout other countries in the Middle East. Um, let's see, we also have people from all throughout North America, some people from Europe. It's really, and I appreciate you guys staying up so late, depending on where you are. This is really great. I'm really very, very excited about this. Um, just to go over a couple of really very, very quick things with you, and then I want to get started. First of all, I'm Aaron Marcus, and I really don't like talking about myself all that much. But let me just share a little bit of background. I know some of you who are here. I mean, we spent time together. There are a lot of you that we've never had the chance to meet. So just very quickly, um, I've been making my living as an actor and a commercial model for really almost 3 decades now. And so far, I've booked 1,201 jobs. And actually, the latest thing that I did is probably the highlight of my career. If you ever get a chance to see, there's a very new movie out called Philomena. And I had a scene with Judi Dench, who is just she's just an amazing actor. And it was a small scene. I am her priest. She comes in for a confessional, and it was just incredible. So anyhow, so that's what I do. I wrote a book, How to Become a Successful Commercial Model. I do a lot of online private mentoring with people, and I also travel the globe, and I do in-person workshops as well. So anyhow, enough about me. I just wanted to give you a little bit of background, just so that you know that I've been doing this stuff for a very, very long time, and I've done over 500 workshops, and I really love giving out information to people. Just a couple of really quick things. I am recording the session, and assuming that everything goes well and I don't make any mistakes here, I should be able to edit things and hopefully be able to have things in your hand by Friday. Because I would like to give you this once again. This is part of the present, a little holiday present, and you'll have this entire workshop available. You can click the link and watch it over and over again because there are some really important slides in here with some great information that I put together. It'll be really good for you. Here's the game plan for this evening. There are hundreds of you who've signed up, and I just have literally hundreds of questions as well. So what I did was I chose about 70, and I typed them out, printed them, and so what I'm going to be doing is going through as many of these questions as I possibly can. I mean, certainly, for some of these questions, which are great questions, sometimes I do an entire workshop on. And as a matter of fact, and I don't want to spend time selling stuff here. That's not what this is about. I'm just going to let you know that I will be emailing you some information about. I have something called the Season Pass. I do monthly workshops. I have guest speakers and things like that. But sometimes some of the questions that you all have asked, I'll do an entire workshop for. So I'm going to try to give you at least as much information as I possibly can, so at least you can walk out of here knowing a whole lot more about whatever you asked about. The other thing too, if I can, there is a chat section at the bottom. It should be at the bottom of your screen. If you do have a question, feel free to type it in there, and I will be trying to check it. If it's something that I can get to, I certainly will. And just so you know, because I really liked a lot of the questions that you guys sent in, what I'm going to do is I will probably create some vlogs, and I do that pretty regularly. And since you all are on my special mailing list now, I will email you, the vlogs of a lot of the questions that I simply can't get to. So here's what I want to do just to get started. Um, I have the very first question is from Lilia, and she was asking about what are some of the new trends in auditioning for film and television, which I thought was a really interesting question because first of all, the whole industry has changed dramatically. Technology has changed. One of the things that has changed tremendously is how people audition. Now, I can tell you in both New York and Los Angeles, you are still pretty much going to have to be there in order to audition for a television show or a film or even a TV commercial. Absolutely. There are exceptions to the rule. Sometimes if you are working with an agent that has a connection with a casting director, sometimes they will allow you to shoot the audition either at your agent or from home and email it in. Sometimes they're having problems finding a specific character, and then they will simply open it up to the world. So outside of some of those exceptions, typically you have to be there. However, there are certain markets where you can actually audition from home. There are certain projects where you can audition from home and then email the audition. And I do that pretty regularly. As a matter of fact, I'm sure sometime next year I'll be doing a workshop just on auditioning from home. And I can tell you in some of the markets, especially on the East Coast, those are the ones that I primarily do the home auditioning with. In Atlanta, which is really one of the booming markets in the United States, there are lots of films, there are lots of television shows. A few months ago, I did a feature film in Atlanta, and just do a very, very short story. I'm walking out of the hotel, getting into the shuttle, going to the set, and as it turns out, the shuttle bus driver said, "Well, which project are you working on?" And I told him it was called Almanac. He goes, "Oh, no, no, that's the shuttle over there." There were three different shuttles just from this one hotel that were taking actors to various projects. North Carolina, sometimes you can shoot auditions from home. Louisiana and New Orleans, sometimes you can do that. And there are other areas, but those are some of the areas that I do it pretty regularly with. Now, if you do get a callback, which means they like the audition, then you have to actually show up in person. I mean, yes, sometimes people are booked directly from your home audition, but a lot of times they really want to see you. So I would say that's really one of the major differences and one of the major changes that's taking place today, being able to audition from home. Self-taping and self-booking, that was from Rick. And so as far as the self-taping goes, once again, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time with that. It doesn't take a whole lot of equipment. Basically, you can have three fairly inexpensive lights. You can have a fairly inexpensive camera. You can even use an iPhone. And you need a microphone and a clear background, a little backdrop. If you have a screen, that's great. There are portable screens that you can purchase. And so really for, hundreds of dollars, you can have things set up that really would work for you. As far as self-booking, we're going to be talking a lot more about that later. Pamela wanted to know about child acting and representation. This is really interesting because child acting is, in some ways, is different, not so much from an acting point of view, but from a technical and legal point of view, things are different. Sometimes representation-wise, things can be different. And this is what I mean by this. There are some agents in certain markets that do not represent children. And in those particular areas, if there are managers of children, and somebody had asked about the differences between the two, and I'll wait to hold I'll hold off from answering that. But if there are managers of children in your area, and if there aren't many agents who represent kids, that's really the way you want to go. You are going to want to get connected and be managed by a manager who works with kids. And in smaller markets, I would say that a lot of the agents do represent children, but like I said, not all of them. And that's one of the questions that you would definitely want to ask. If you have a child, you want to get them started in the industry, you're going to contact all the local agents and ask if they represent, people in your child's age category. The other thing too is And this is one of the great things for people who look young. Um, Whenever they're shooting films, whenever they're shooting television shows, if it's possible, if production can hire an adult who looks like a high school student. Um, Michael J. Fox certainly was well known for that when he worked on the show Family Ties years ago. He was an adult, but he was, hired as a kid, looking like a kid. And what happens is when you are an adult, you don't have to deal with child labor laws, which production does have to do with when they have children. You don't have to worry about how long you can work on the set. You don't have to worry about on-set tutoring because children are always tutored on sets. That's not an expense for the parent. The production company will hire the tutor, and there are time periods throughout the day where the child is not allowed to work. They are sitting down in a classroom kind of setting, and they're working with the tutor, and they have to continue their studies, and they have to do a certain amount of hours per day depending on their age. So I would say that if you have a child and you're interested in getting started, certainly see if there are agents in the area that work with kids, and if not, then find managers of children. And then what happens is when projects come up and agents need to start submitting kids for certain projects, then they'll go to the managers of children and find them. Okay, Stark. Actually, it was interesting because Stark sent me some photos. I believe, if I remember this correctly, Stark lives in Taiwan, and he's really interested in getting work in both the fashion and the commercial modeling world. And I can tell you, it's interesting. There are some people who have the look and the ability to be both. Fashion models and high-end commercial models. I mean, typically, if somebody is a supermodel, it's a little tough for them to be doing everyday kind of modeling, being the mom, laundry detergent, getting the stains out of, their children's T-shirts. It's kind of hard to believe somebody looking like that in that kind of commercial. But there are some people who can do, especially higher end commercial ads, like maybe Gap catalogs, could be high end cars, Rolex watches, things like that. So there are some people who do have that ability. One of the questions I know that Stark had. And by the way, since we just talked about, I just talked about fashion here a little bit, just so everybody knows, and there are exceptions to the rule. However, typically in the fashion world, women are going to be between 5'9", 5'10" to 6 feet tall. Typically measurements are 34, 24, 34. Men are going to be 6 feet to 6 feet 2, wear a size 40 jacket. And like I said, there are exceptions to the rule, but that's pretty standard. And just so you guys know, the reason why they have such strict standards is because the designers believe that their samples will look best in a certain size. And so essentially, the model has to fit into the sample size. They don't make samples for the models. That's why they're so strict with your height and your measurements and things like that. Now, if you're living in another country, because this was the second part of what Stark wanted to know about, if you're living in another country and you want to work in the States, how do you go about doing it? Well, it's done all the time. It's complicated though. I'm not an immigration attorney, so I can't give you legal advice, but there are a couple of options. One is if you have an agency that really wants to work with you, then they can help you fill out forms. And I believe it's a certain kind of green card, and then hopefully you can come here and get a work visa and work here for a certain time period. But once again, I don't want to go into all the details because honestly, like I said, I don't even know all the specifics. It's complicated, but certainly it's done all the time. There are tons, not necessarily in the fashion world, but I know there are a lot of actors, comedians who've come from Canada and are superstars and work in the States. So it can be done if you are living in Asia. Honestly, I would tend to think that you would have an easier time working in Asia, and maybe even in Europe. Maybe that would be even easier for you. But the trick is you want to get an agent that really wants to work with you. And that's really how it's done. So that's what I would suggest doing. Okay, I've got a question from Salome, who did ask, what is the difference between agents and managers? Which is a great question. Here's a condensed version. Think of it this way. Managers are like great parents who are really looking out for your future. They are helping you make really good life decisions. And so basically what the managers do is, and just so that you know, managers work with very few people. Managers will work with uh, maybe 15 talent. If they have an individual company, if it's a big management firm, maybe 40, 50 people, and that means that there are a lot of managers working there. So they're very, very selective as to who they want to work with. And what they do is they will not only help connect you with the right headshot photographer to make sure you have the right materials for your particular area, they will help connect you with the right acting coaches, the right classes to make sure that you are really good and you are skilled and ready to audition. They will also help connect you with the right agent because it's the agent who is supposed to actually submit you for the job, to either send in a JPEG of your headshot. That's what agents are supposed to do. The agents are the ones who actually negotiate for you. And especially for those of you who are living in, they're called secondary markets. These are smaller markets. Sometimes the agents do kind of work as managers and you have a much closer connection with them. But it is the agents who actually negotiate for you. But sometimes agents could have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in their files, especially if the agent does a lot of extra work. They need a lot of people in order to be able to fill certain scenes for different kinds of projects. So managers, like I said, they have a much closer connection with their talent. And just so you know, the way that managers get paid, they typically they're going to get a 15% commission fee from any job that you book. You don't pay monthly fees or anything like that. Agents, and it works a couple of different ways. If it's a modeling job, typically we are the models. We're going to be paying our agent a 20% commission fee. If you are an actor and you are not a member of the union, SAG-AFTRA, typically you will pay a 20% commission fee. And if you are a union member, SAG-AFTRA, as of right now, we are only paying our agent a 10% commission fee. That could change at some point, but as of today, that's what the fees are. Okay. And once again, if you do have a question and you want to send it in, it would be through the chat box below. This is from Cameron. Wanted to know about audition pointers, do's and don'ts, and the time it takes for an audition. And so, look, once again, I mean, I could spend hours talking about this, but here's some really important things, do's and don'ts. Well, first of all, show up on time. Make sure you're prepared. Make sure you have read the sides. That's the short portion of the script. Make sure you're very familiar with what your game plan is, what this character is doing. One of the questions that does come up is, does it need to be memorized? If you are auditioning for a feature film, television commercial, or either a TV show, look, there is no one exact answer, and I can tell you, and anybody who tells you that simply doesn't know what they're talking about. There are times where an agent will say it's got to be memorized when you walk in there. Other people say don't memorize it, be very familiar with it. So you always want to ask. One of the reasons why I typically, unless it's really easy for me to memorize, and sometimes they are, sometimes they're not, sometimes I get things at the very last minute, I want to make sure that I'm not struggling with the memorization part. If I have it memorized, I can walk in there and just, just read it flawlessly. That's great. But you don't want to be in a situation where you walk in there and all of a sudden you're starting to think and you're forgetting what the words are. Look, we're not getting hired because we can memorize things quickly. They will expect you to have it memorized either for a callback, certainly for, when you show up for the job, when you book it. But, what they're looking for at the audition is, number one, do you look right for the part? Number two, do you bring some life, to this character? Do you make the words sound conversational? That's what they're really looking for. So showing up on time, being prepared, um, asking the right questions and the important questions to casting directors would be something that is a do. Like, for instance, if you are auditioning for a feature film and you haven't been given the entire script because you're reading for a smaller part and you just, once again, you have the sides and you're reading with a character named Jim. Well, you really have no idea who Jim is. So a very important question would be, what is my relationship with Jim? That's something you definitely need to know, because if Jim is a boyfriend, you're going to read it a certain way. Is he a husband? Is he an ex-boyfriend? Is it somebody that you want to start dating? Are you jealous of this person? Is he dating your best friend and you really want to go out with? Who knows? You have to ask that. What you would never want to ask, one of the don'ts, is, so how do you want me to read this? I mean, that's your job. As an actor, it's your responsibility to come up with a plan of how you want to do this. Do not try to think about, well, how do they want me to do this? Make a stab at it on your own. And whether it's right, whether it's wrong, at your initial audition, it really doesn't matter. What's important is, do you do it well? Because if all the other factors are true, you look right for the part, it's interesting, you do a good job with it, that should at least get you a callback. And when you get a callback, then you'll be reading with a director, and the director will give you, more of the specifics about what they're looking for. Okay, so Lakeisha wanted to know some of the differences between working in LA and working in other markets. Well, that's a really good question. I can tell you one of the things that is very different in LA as opposed to, let's say, New York, is you have to drive. You need to have a driver's license. You need a car, because it's not unusual to have to drive hours between auditions. And you've got to be able to give yourself plenty of time to get from one place to the other, because driving can be a real nightmare in LA. In LA, look, it's going to be more feature film and television. There's not nearly the kind of theater presence there as in New York or even in Chicago. Chicago, there's a tremendous amount of theater. The important thing with LA is, like with any major market, it's making contacts, being skilled, making sure that you are ready, so that when you're put in a position where where people say, well, she was lucky, she was in the right place at the right time. I really don't buy into that. You put yourself to be in the right place at the right time, and you still have to have the skills so that when the opportunity is there, you can really jump on it. So in LA, like I haven't auditioned that much in LA. There have been a few things, and an audition is an audition. The only difference is everybody in LA is an actor. Whether it's the person parking your car, or waiting on you, or is selling things on the street. Everybody is an actor, and it's a different kind of climate. So if you are thinking about LA, or for New York, for that matter, just one little piece of advice: just make sure that you have got enough money set aside so that you can spend at least 3 or 4 months without having to do anything but focus on your business. Because what does happen for people, not only for LA, but for New York as well, you go in there and then all of a sudden you're realizing you've got to start paying your bills. You don't have, enough money to take care of that. And in LA, it's a very expensive city, as is New York. And all of a sudden people start taking on these daytime jobs that really prevent them from doing, exactly, why they came to those particular cities. So make sure you've got enough money saved up. and just network, take classes, meet people, try to get representation. That's what I would highly recommend for LA. Um, let's see. Christina was asking about effective headshots, marketing tools. How to get yourself a great headshot on a limited market. I mean, with a limited budget. Well, um, let me just say a couple things about headshots right now, and then I'll give you a suggestion. Headshots, without a doubt, I think that's the most important marketing tool that any actor needs. If you're thinking about commercial modeling work, eventually getting a composite sheet or a comp card or a Z card, it's all the same thing. That's also important. And a business card. Don't dismiss having a great business card with your headshot on it. Um, for your headshot, what you need to do is before you have your headshot session, the most important thing is figuring out your type, figuring out how people view you, figuring out how people see you so that when you go into a casting, what kind of roles are they going to consider you for? And one of the problems that a lot of people have is they let their ego get in the way and they fantasize about how they would like to be seen. What's important is how people see you and how they are going to potentially cast you. So when you're looking at me, and look, it took me a while, I figured this out. I'm not the leading guy. I'm everybody's next door neighbor. I'm the guy who fixes your computer. I'm the history teacher. I am the priest. I am the doctor. I'm the lawyer, not the high end kind of people. I'm your family practitioner. I'm your insurance salesman. That's my strength. So I put together a headshot that when you look at it, you get it. You see a guy who's intelligent, some guy who's successful, some guy who's nice, somebody that you trust, somebody that you feel comfortable with. So once you have all that stuff put together, you know exactly how to create the right emotions to really show that in a headshot so that there's life in your eyes. Now you need a photographer. So if you do have a very limited budget, here's something that you could try doing. You could try going to any local college or university and go to the art department and see who is teaching photography classes. And sit down, speak with the instructor, and explain. Look, I'm really interested in putting together a great headshot. Do you have any students who would be interested in getting experience shooting headshots for actors? And you'll work out a deal. You're not going to charge anything. The student's not going to charge you anything. And it's a trade-off. And the worst thing that can happen is you do the photo shoot and the photos look horrible and you can't use them. Okay, but at least you're going to be able to look at the shot, look at the headshot and say, you know what, I can't use it because technically it's really bad. But you know what? I like the way I look. I like my expression. It looks believable. I look like a human. I look like somebody who's really showing some life and brain activity going on. Then you just have to go out and find another student to shoot it with. That's a great way of doing it. There's also I just thought about this, there's an organization called ASMP. It's American Society of Media Photographers. And you can go to their website, it's asmp.org, and see if there are any photographers who are members in your particular area. Maybe there are some people who are doing an apprenticeship with a well-known photographer. And maybe they want to get some experience and they won't, charge you any fees for that. The only thing I just wanted to mention, look, in today's time period, you just have to be very, very, very careful. And if you're going to work with a student and you don't know this person, I don't care what college it is, it doesn't make any difference whether it's a community college or university. Bring somebody with you. You've got to have somebody with you because you don't know who this person is. And I'm not trying to scare anybody off, but you just have to be real smart about this stuff. Especially, you're shooting outside someplace, make sure you bring somebody. Preferably somebody big. Okay. Nicholas wanted to know any suggestions for getting a callback and what to do during a callback. Okay. So, for getting a callback, once again, being really prepared, doing a great read, and some of it is out of your control. Do you have the right look? Do you match up well with the other characters? Because you could give the greatest read out of anybody there, but if you're too tall, you're too good looking, you're not good looking enough, if Maybe there are parents who've already been cast in this project and you are playing their son. You don't look like you belong to these people. Chances are you're not going to get it. But let's say in the best case scenario, you get a callback. So now you're going to go back and read. And I can tell you once again, there are different philosophies about it. Let me just tell you what I do. Number one, I wear the same clothes that I wore for the first audition. The reason for that is because they liked what they heard, they liked what they saw. Give it to them again. And I have heard of situations where people look drastically different. And then when they walk in, the director, casting director, other people from the project, they're looking at this person and saying, who's this person? I saw somebody very different. So give them the same look. The other thing is read it the same way that you did it the first time. And once again, some actors have this idea, I want to show them range. I want to show them that I can really act. I want to show them I can do a lot of different things. The problem with that is they like what you did. Give it to them again. And then they will probably ask you to make an adjustment. In which case, you have to be able to make that adjustment. Make sure that they can see that you're not a one-trick pony. So give them what you did for the first one. And then if they ask for another type of read, that's when you do it. Okay. There were a whole lot of questions that were all kind of like in a similar genre, so I kind of mushed them all together. I know just a couple. There was Alfred, Latoria, Samara. They wanted to know about how to get work as an actor and a model without an agent. How do you book jobs without an agent? How do you know if the agency is really an agency or is it really a school? And so let me just start off with that one first. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to minimize this and let me bring this thing up so you guys can see this a little bit better. Let me go down to the next one. Very, very quickly, about schools. Look, like with anything, there are great schools and there are schools that aren't so great. And there are schools that are very legitimate and some schools that aren't so legitimate. And there are schools where they call themselves agents, but they're not really agents. What they're doing is they're bringing you in, trying to sell you on classes under the guise of, well, we're going to represent you. And look, I know of places that run schools and have an agency and actually do a really good job. So just because somebody does have a school and an agency doesn't mean that it's not a good place. Now I can tell you that the union, SAG-AFTRA, does not allow any of they're called franchised or signatory agents to have schools. And I understand it. They're concerned about a conflict of interest. What they want to make sure that does not happen is that an actor is brought in and told, well, look, if you don't sign up for my classes, I'm not going to represent you. Here's the deal. Like I said, there are some places that do offer classes and they do submit actors and models for work and they do a great job. So like with any other kind of institution, you want to check them out and you want to ask questions. And you can also really use your gut, use your intuition. And basically, if there's an agency that does have a school and they say to you, we're not going to represent you unless you study with us, that would make me a little bit concerned. Because I understand that an agent is going to say, I don't want to represent you unless you're really good because you're representing me. I want to make sure that I get, I get paid because I want you to book jobs. So you've got to have some training. And if they say, look, we do offer training here, highly recommend it. But if you want to go elsewhere, that's fine too. And that sounds like a good way to do it. So anyhow, check things out very, very carefully before you start working with an agent. There are things as far as getting work without an agent. And by the way, working with an agent is always the best case scenario. And yes, you will be paying them a percentage, but agents are going to make sure that the jobs are legit. Agents will probably get you paid more than what you could get on your own. But even if you have an agent, I highly recommend that you market yourself. I do, and it's really important to get out there and not just sit by the phone and hopefully somebody will call you. So I'm sharing here some listservs. These are all free. and you can sign up. And these are from different parts of the country in the United States, and you will find auditions, you will find jobs, you will also find classes, being sent to you. But you'll get these things on a regular basis. So I'm just going to run through them really, really quickly for you. Peter McSwing, actually, he's great. He's a gentleman who actually took one of my workshops. He's up in the Massachusetts area. Brian Dragonuk, really, really good guy. More mid-Atlantic between gigs. John, that's in the New Hampshire area. CNC castings, most of those are going to be out of New York. Jeff Gunn, he is based, I'm pretty sure, like in the Las Vegas area, but there's a lot of work in LA, Vegas, and in other markets. Capitan is Texas. And there are a ton of things going on in Texas. And the very last one, she's based in Louisiana. And once again, it's all free. You can sign up and go there, and you will find tons of opportunities for auditions and jobs. There was also a question from Angela about websites. Are websites legit? Can I really get information there about auditions and jobs? Or, do I need an agent? So here are some of the websites, and you will pay. Well, it gets a little bit complicated. Some you can sign up free, but then you don't get all the bonuses and stuff like that. But these are really very helpful websites where very legitimate people post projects. Like, for instance, for 800 Casting, and the owner is a really nice guy. I've interviewed him, Don DePrima, for one of my online workshops. It's like $39.95, I think, for the year. And there are a lot of auditions that come through there. You can upload videos free. So if you're shooting an audition at home, you can send it in free. Voiceover stuff. Brian Dragonuk, and I mentioned he also has a listserv, but he also has a website. It's also inexpensive for the year. But all these places, do a good job, and look, certainly there are others, but these are good places for you to contact and get more information about, because you will find some really, really good projects happening there. And let me just show you one other thing here. Here's some other places that you can go to. There's the Southern Casting Call. Mandy also offers jobs. Love to Act is another place. Facebook, this is another spot. The last two, I'm going to mention these to you very quickly. There are Meetup Groups, and if you're not familiar with them, you'll find them throughout the world. And what you can do is go in there and find meetup groups in areas that you want to connect with. So if you want to find people dealing with modeling, find a modeling meetup group or an acting one, and people share information there. People physically will get together, and you can talk about the industry and share information about projects, and it's a really, really it's great. It's free. And WIFV, this is wonderful. It's women in film and video, and there are branches throughout the world. You do not have to be a woman. I'm a member of one of the branches, and it's very inexpensive. There's a very nominal annual fee, at least with the one that I go to. You will be sent information about auditions and jobs. They also have network meetings. They bring in guest speakers, and you can get together and just meet a lot of other people, which is really, really pretty cool. Okay, so let me move on to Natasha. How to deal with nervousness before an audition? It's a great question. And once again, let me try to condense it for you. First of all, if you are feeling nervous before an audition, I would say congratulations. That means you're a human. That means as an actor, you are feeling your emotions, which is very, very important. And I like it when I'm nervous, because I know that when I am nervous, there's a lot of energy flying through my body, and it helps bring out an audition that's even more alive because of all that energy, that surging of energy. Now, here's the trick, though. You don't want people to see it. And nervousness can come out in many, many different ways for people. Sometimes people start playing with their fingers. They start putting their hands in their pocket. They put their hands behind their back and clasp their hands like, they're in the military or saluting. They'll start tapping their feet. Their legs will shake. You don't want people to see it because they don't want to work with people who they're concerned about that can't handle tough situations. So just a couple of little hints for you. I wouldn't certainly do this in front of the casting director or in front of all the other actors, but maybe you can go out into the hallway or stand outside and just like jump up and down a little bit, just kind of shake your hands a little just to let some of that extra nervous energy fly out of you. But still, don't get rid of it. Contain that nervousness. The other thing that's really good is just take some deep breaths, let it out very slowly. And when your body is in that state, you won't feel the nervousness as much because we have this fight or flight syndrome, and so when we have to run because of danger, we start breathing very quickly. You feel that nervousness, but when you're calm and relaxed, it puts your body in a very, very different place. One other just really quick thing, and then I do want to move on, is one of the things that also helps me at auditions with nervousness is that my number one goal for any audition is not booking the job. When I go to an audition, I'm not thinking, oh, I want to book this thing. I've got to book this thing. I need this thing. I have to have this thing. What I do is this. I actually have for my number one priority, I want to have a good time. I want to enjoy myself. That's my number one goal. And by taking some of the pressure off of not feeling like I have to book this thing, it just helps relax me. So anyhow, I hope that was helpful to you. I'm seeing some hands up, and I'm not sure if that was from previous questions. So I'll click it. If you do have like a specific question, I'm not seeing anything in my chat box, so feel free to type it in if you would like to. Let's see. Here's some other ones. Connecting with the right agent. And once again, there are lots of ways of finding agents. Certainly you can go to the SAG-AFTRA website. It's sagaftra.org. See if there are any franchised agents in your particular area, and you can go to their website and check them out. See what kind of work they do. See if these are, if this is a good agency, if it's a good fit. The other thing is on my website, if you go to howtomodel.com, I have a link. It's free. To find an agent, and I have mostly agents, a few casting directors, a few managers. It's mostly agents. I have over 300 agents. You'll find agents from every state in the U.S. And just really quickly with this, in the video that you see, I have a disclaimer. I'm not recommending any of the people there. I visited every single website from those people. I spent a long time doing that as a service to to people to try to help people out. But I don't recommend anybody. I want you to visit their websites. I want you to, ask the agent the right questions. And if you do get a chance, if you ever read my book, How to Become a Successful Commercial Model, I've got a whole chapter just on agents. You'll see exactly what questions, to ask and what kind of answers to get. But anyhow, that would be a great way to try to find some agents in your particular area and see if they are actually right for you. Finding work for children, basically, and it's kind of like, and this was from Terry. It was basically what I was talking about before. What you want to do is see if there are local agents in the area. If not, then see if there are managers that you can work with. There's a question here from Catherine. She says she's newly SAG eligible. Where does she go from here? Should she do extra work? Yes or no? So just so everybody knows, and I don't want to get into too many details about the union, but when you are SAG eligible, that could mean that you've done one union project, and that means you're eligible to join. Doesn't mean you have to. Nobody forces you to join. But in order to do another, after you've done, I know, like especially for if you've done some extra work on a union project and you were brought in as a union talent. And once again, I don't want to go into all the details here. And we can talk about this another time when we're talking about unions. But if it makes you eligible, that means the next time you do a union job, you have to join, in order to do the job. And whether you should or shouldn't join the union, like I'm a vested member of the union, so I'm connected. They've been very helpful to me. I'm pro-union. However, I also understand that if you're living in an area where there's not that much union work, it would be silly for you to join because you'll lose out on getting jobs. If you haven't had any experience, and not to say you just might not be a natural, and maybe you're just phenomenal. I mean, most great actors have been studying for a very long time, and a lot of very well-known actors continue to study. But maybe you are one of these people who are just a complete natural at this. Once I can tell you that the number one rule for the union is once you become a union member, you can only do non-union work. And so if you join the union, then it might complicate things from you for getting more experience. And I know there was a question later that did ask, there's something called financial core. And I'm just going to do this really, really, really quickly, for probably 99.9% of everybody who's attending this, it's not really a factor for right now. But to make a very long story short, there is something called financial core. If you are a union member and you do want to do non-union work, you can. You have to fill out these papers, become financial core, and basically you become a dues-paying non-member of the union. And certainly it's very frowned upon by the union because producers can hire union talent and pay them non-union wages. And the union can't do anything if you fill out this form and become FI-Core. That's what they call it, financial core. Once again, it's not something I would do. I don't recommend it, but I know plenty of people that have done it, and that does give you the option of doing union work and you get paid union wages, and you can do non-union work and the union can't hold you responsible for it. Okay, I can't believe how many questions I still want to go through here. Booking contracts. Let's see, getting contracts, model release forms, vouchers. So let me show you this very, very quickly. Whoops, I just went past it. This is a model release form. And basically, at the end of every modeling job, you should be asked to sign a model release form. And once again, the short version is this. It's a legal document. It's giving the photographer permission to use your image in this ad, which you have to sign because otherwise there could be problems if you didn't give them permission. One thing, and I have a whole page devoted about this in my books just so you can see it because I know people who've lost thousands of dollars. You will find, you can see down here, I have it in blue, either these exact words or very similar words in every model release form that says that they can use your this ad through any media and for any purpose whatsoever. And the thing is, they can't. Your agent negotiated a fee based on its usage. Usage means this. If this is a modeling ad, if it's running in a newspaper, a magazine, a brochure, typically you're going to get paid either an hourly fee or you get paid for the day. If it's running in it's called a high exposure format, those are billboards, posters on the side of a bus, typically you're going to get a bonus on top of whatever your regular modeling fee is. The reason for that is because if you are on a billboard, let's say for a local bank, no other bank is going to hire you. So you could actually, no, you want to be in a high exposure format, but there are some potential, you could have potential loss of income because of it. So that's why normally you'll get a bonus. The other thing that can happen is sometimes people get overexposed in an area where there could be an ad for a local restaurant and the photographer might say, I've seen this person all over the place for this billboard, for this bank. Let's find a fresh face. So to help compensate you for a potential loss of work, you should get a bonus. So if you do what most models do, and down here you just sign your name and fill out that information, you're giving them permission to use it any way they want. And I know people who've lost thousands of dollars because they did an ad that was running in a newspaper and the company loved it so much they decided to put it on their website or on a billboard or a poster. and they should have gotten more money for it, but they didn't. And the other thing too is your agent will lose out on this as well. So what I recommend that you do is you scratch out those words that I have in blue here, and what you will do is you will write in there very specifically how your agent said the ad will run. You know, for newspaper only, for magazine only, for brochure only, and then you initial it, then you sign it at the bottom. And that way, that's how you're protecting yourself. Because if the company loves the ad, they want to use it in a high exposure format, now they have to renegotiate. And if there are any problems on the set by doing that, it's rare, but it could happen. The photographer might not appreciate it. Just have them call your agent, let your agent handle it, and your agent might either fight and say, well, of course, these changes should be made, or, and I understand this, the agent might get a lot of work from the photographer, and the agent might say, you know what, just leave it as is because she doesn't want to ruffle any feathers with the photographer, and I get it. Then I would sign it as is without making the changes. Wouldn't be happy, but I get it. But anyhow, that's how you handle model release forms. The other document that you absolutely need to know about, they're called vouchers. And a voucher is your invoice. And at the end of every modeling job, you're going to fill this out. You will keep one copy forever, never throw your voucher away. One goes to the agent, one goes to whoever is being invoiced for it. The reason why you never throw a voucher away is because one of the things that it should have in the voucher is how long will this ad run? Like for instance here it says period of use. So it might be 12 months, could be 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is. So that way if you hold on to it and let's say it was a 12-month usage, and let's say, and this does happen sometimes, 2 years later, all of a sudden you're flipping through a magazine and you go, wait a minute, that's an ad I did a long time ago, and you look it up and you find your old voucher and it says 12-month usage and it's been 2-3 years. Now you can get paid again because you have proof. So you contact your agent, you let the agent know, and then your agent can get you more money. So just make sure, never throw it away. Okay. Let me move on to Virginia, best bookkeeping procedures, like for taxes and things like that. I mean, basically, what I do is, and it's very simple, I just have an Excel spreadsheet. Every time you do a job, type it in there. I put all the information, type of job, agent, advertising agency, photographer, makeup artist, all that stuff, who the job was for, the date, what kind of job was it? Was it modeling? Was it acting? How much I got paid? What percentage I paid to to the agent? For me, if it's a union job and taxes are withheld, and they'll take out everything from Social Security, could be state, could be federal, all that stuff. That's all in there. And then at the end of the year, you just total things up, and it's a nice, simple way of keeping track. But you have to keep track. And for those of you who are getting commercial modeling work, I've never seen taxes taken out. So just make sure that you find out how much money should you be setting aside to pay for taxes. So that way at the end of the year, if you've gotten jobs and you made $1,000 or $500 or $2,000 or $10,000 if you're fortunate enough, make sure you've got enough money to pay all your taxes, because I know some models who have been very successful, and it's easy. You get a check for $300 or $500 and you just, cash it, put it in your checking account and spend it, and you didn't realize that you really needed to save, a good percentage of that. So anyhow, that's how I would handle it. How to get, actually this one's interesting too, about tattoos. That was a good question. Here's the deal with tattoos. I mean, it's always best if you have them in areas where they're not so visible. I mean, I know people who have gotten jobs because they had tattoos. I know people who've lost work because they've had tattoos. One of the things that I would do, if you have a tattoo that's visible, it's on your arm, that people would see if you're wearing a t-shirt, or it's on your hands or something like that, I would make sure that you find a makeup artist and see what kind of makeup you can get so that you can do this on your own to cover it up. And that way you always have the option, if you need it covered up and so it's not visible, do that, because there is makeup that will really be helpful around that. This was from Bailey about getting a good manager. So let me just show you. Getting a good manager, there are many ways of doing that. One way is you can go to this association. It's called Talent Managers. It's talentmanagers.org. Just go to their website and you will find managers. I can tell you, most of them are going to be in the New York or LA market. Certainly, you will find some in other markets too, Chicago, Miami. Um, you might not find that many in very, very small markets. So you can go to the website, check them out, and see if you think this might be somebody that you are interested in trying to work with. Got an email from hoping I'm pronouncing it Tosif. He's actually in Pakistan and he wants to start a modeling agency there and wanted to know if I had any suggestions. Well, let me just first say, look, I don't know what kind of scene there is for modeling in Pakistan. Certainly, you got to be careful. Whatever country you're in, you have to find out what the state laws are, what the city laws are, to make sure you're following things very carefully. And you also have to make sure that what you're doing is okay. Um, there are other markets outside of Pakistan that might make it a little bit easier to start an agency. But anyhow, one of the things that I would find out first is, if you're going to start any kind of business, what are the rules and regulations that you have to follow? And then you have to see if there is a market, for it. Are there a lot of people who are interested in acting and modeling in Pakistan? And maybe there are. I mean, I really don't know it well enough, but just make sure you do things very carefully and you know what you're doing. Um, okay, so this is from Lynn. She wants to know about finding casting directors. So there are a lot of ways of finding casting directors. One is there's an association, and there are a few, but here's an association for casting directors. It's Casting Society. It's CSA, Casting Society of America. You can go to their website. You will find them there. Also, Backstage, which is a great company. You can go to their website. They have resources, and you can find information there as well. Seth wanted to know about doing non-paid gigs, memorizing lines, and differences between stage and screen acting. So, doing non-paid gigs. Look, when I first got started, I did a bunch of non-paid gigs. It was great experience. If you can do some student films, not only will it give you some good experience in front of a camera, assuming that it's a decent script and you've got decent people that you're working with. But even still, it will give you an opportunity to work in front of a camera. Hopefully, you can see some of the scenes that you've done. It's something that you can start building an acting reel, which is good, and you can start adding things to a resume, which will be really good as well for you. So don't worry about the money. I've never accepted or turned down a job based on money in my entire life. Now, I'm not going to lose hundreds of dollars from doing a job, but some of the best jobs I've ever had have come from very small markets where I got paid very little money. Like I said, when I first got started, absolutely I did things free, and it was good connections with photographers and other people. Memorizing lines, just really quickly. One thing that I do in my private coaching sessions, when you are trying to memorize lines, something that will be really good for you is don't try to read it as an actor. Don't try to read it with anything, any kind of emotion. First, couple times you're reading it, read it like it's, the yellow pages, like it's a laundry list. Plain, no emotion, just read it through. And you'll find that when you do it that way, it will be much, much better for you. So that way, you don't start getting into certain habits of reading it in a certain rhythm and punching out certain words. And then all of a sudden, if you have to change them, it creates a problem. So that's what I would do with that. And as far as stage and screen, look, when you are on stage, you have to be able to hit the back row. People have to hear you. Everything is much bigger. Look, great acting is great acting. But there are different techniques, and when you're working in front of a camera, every little nuance is shown on a tremendous screen, even if it's just a television as opposed to a feature film. So you have to still project, but by doing a lot less. So the feelings have to be there, the emotions still have to be believable and true, but you have to internalize things a lot more, and everything is said through your eyes and with very little body movement in there. Let me just try to get to a couple other really quick things. Irving, uh, cold reads, monologues. Hey, here's one thing that I wanted to do and just mention. I always tell people you want to have two contrasting monologues. It's always good to have those in your back pocket. You never know when you're going to be asked to do it, especially if you're auditioning for a lot of theater. And so you want something comedic, something serious. Um, I can also tell you that I am almost never asked to do a monologue. I mean, I think once in the past 15 years, I was asked to do a monologue, but I also don't do much theater. It's more TV, film, commercials, things like that. So they normally don't require that. But if you're going to meet with an agent, they probably will ask you to do a monologue, or at least do a cold read. So one of the things I did want to share with everybody is it's a neat website. It's called whysanity.net, and you can get a free monologue. You can check them out. But there are lots of places. Just once again, really, really quickly, I wouldn't choose a monologue that was done by a famous person, from a famous movie or famous television show, because then you're just going to be compared to that actor, which is not going to be good for you. The other thing is make sure that the monologue is right for you. It's age appropriate. You can connect with it. I was once at an event and there was like an 11-year-old girl who was doing a monologue, and it started off, she was talking about, how her husband left her. And I just, what? And it's like, no matter what she did with it, she lost me. It was just silly. So make sure it's age appropriate, and make sure you can connect with it. And that's what I would be doing with monologues. Um, Nathan wanted to know, how do I know if I'm creating good commercial photos? Because Nathan wants to do commercial modeling work. Once again, and I could spend 6 hours doing this thing. When you are creating really good commercial photos, you're doing test shots, whether it's to place on agents' websites or for your portfolio or your composite sheet. See if you can make photos look like ads without using logos, brand names. You're not going to have any copy any of the words in the ad. That's what you want to do. So you want to go through tons of magazines and get ideas. And when you see one that's right for you, you can borrow some of the concepts of it. And once again, without using, any logos or brand names. So even like for an ad like this, even though it's for a jewelry company, this could be a great idea for somebody who thinks that they could be cast as a tutor, as a teacher, as a young mom. It'd be perfect. And that's what you want to do. So the way that you know is if you look at the shot and you go, yeah, that looks like an ad, and you could, name 2 or 3 different places. Here's another sample of a shot. That's great. Even without, the logo here, without all this stuff, without any of the words, just looking at his face in there, his body language, you look at the props that are being used, it's just a phenomenal shot that looks like an ad. And that's how you create really, really strong commercial photos. Okay, Courtney asked, what kinds of things should I put on a resume as far as education goes? So I'm just going to show you very, very quickly about resumes. And I know we're kind of running out of time, but I'm going to try to get to a few more if I can here. Here's the most important thing about a resume. Be honest. Don't lie on your resume. There are people that do. It's not a good way to run your business. And one of the things that's really good to know about resumes is this. You're not going to book a job or lose a job because of your resume. Now, if you went to a very prestigious acting school and you've got a master's degree and it's on your resume under education, yeah, of course, that's going to open up doors. Agents, managers will take you a lot more seriously. They know you've had great training, but it doesn't get you the job. It does open up doors. And you, who maybe has had very little training, has done very little work, you don't have that much on your resume, but they like your read more, you look perfect for the job, you're the one who's probably going to book it. So key things, number one, be honest. Don't make up, anything on there. Only list things that you are proficient in. And one of the things about education that can be really, really helpful, especially for people who haven't done that much, is if people can see that you've had decent training. Maybe you took an on-camera class. Maybe you took a script analysis class. Maybe you took improv. Maybe you did, auditioning for film class or TV commercial audition class. And if the teacher is somebody who is known in the area that you're trying to work in, that certainly will be really helpful to you. But even if it's somebody that is not well known, that's okay too. At least people can see, okay, you've had some training, you've had some experience, hopefully you know what you're doing, and that will make people much more comfortable in wanting to work with you, even if you don't have much in the way of, a body of work. So education is really important, and for your special skills, you don't have to be a professional. You do have to make sure that you are proficient in anything that you do list there. Do not lie about that stuff. One other thing I was just going to mention about the resumes. This is really cool for those of you who don't know about it. It's called google.com Voice. It's Google Voice. You can get to the website by going to google.com/voice. If you do not want to give out your personal home phone number on your resume or on your composite sheet, or even just when you are auditioning for places, sometimes they'll ask for a phone number, or you don't want to give out your personal cell phone number, because the reality is you never know who could get their hands on your headshot and resume. You could go to a very legitimate audition, hand in your headshot, they throw it away because they don't need it anymore, and some scary person starts going through trash cans because they know where the casting directors are located and the agents, and all of a sudden they look at somebody's headshot and go, oh, she's attractive, and they flip it over, oh, here's her home phone number. So what a lot of people do, well, I don't know about a lot of people, what is a good idea is you go to google.com/voice. You have to fill out some information like a zip codes, and then all of a sudden you will get an option of a number of phone numbers that you can select. This is all free, by the way. It costs absolutely nothing. And then what you do is you choose a phone number. That is your Google Voice number. And then what you do is you set it up so that whenever somebody calls that number, it gets forwarded to whatever phone you want it to go to, whether it's your cell phone, home phone. That way you're not giving out your personal phone number. And what's also cool is you will know that it's a business call if somebody calls the Google Voice number. And if you don't answer it and somebody leaves a message, I was told that you actually will get a text message with whatever message was left for you. So anyhow, that was really cool. Let me just, sorry, I'm going to have to wind some things up here, just because I'm just running out of time. It's already 10 after the hour. Like I said earlier, my goal for this was to give everybody a holiday present. I really hope that you found this helpful. I enjoyed going through these questions, and like I said, I will put together some vlogs. I can stick around here for a couple of minutes if there are any other questions that pop in. More than happy to do that. And like I said, you can go to the chat box area and type it in if you would like. The other thing too is I just wanted to mention I offer, and I mentioned this before, I offer private online mentoring sessions, and if you would like to get more information, I've got the link right down here. Basically what I can do is I just take the guesswork out of doing this. I will teach you personally how to create the right photos, put together your resume for you, help connect you with the right agents in the area and things like that. So anyhow, if you want to get more information, just go there, and I do set aside 5 days a month now where I work with people privately, and it's a great session, and it'll just save you years and years and years of guesswork and trial and error. The other thing I was just going to mention, on January the 1st, I'm actually going to be in Orlando, and I mentioned to some people that I will be doing a in-person private session only for 4 people. So if you happen to live anywhere in the Orlando, Florida area and you're going to be around the morning of January the 1st, you can shoot me an email. It's right at the aaron@howtomodel.com, and I can send you more information about it. But anyhow, this was a lot of fun for me. I hope this was good for you as well. And something that I'd really appreciate, two things. If you would go to my facebook.com/how to model page, and you can find that right here, and do two things. Let me know what, one or two things that you found most helpful from this session, and just put it in there. And also, please like the page. When you like the page, what will happen is every time I post new information on that Facebook page, you'll receive it. And the other thing too is now that everybody here is in my special mailing list, you'll be getting some really good acting and modeling information from me on a regular basis. And the whole thing is, like, I know it's tough getting started. Look, I know, remember what it was like for me. It was hard. I didn't have people to turn to. I had to learn a lot of things on my own. I did some things that seemed pretty smart, and also made some mistakes along the way that I learned from. So I like the idea of being a mentor, of helping people. And so if you do have a question, always feel free to, fire away. Just, shoot me an email. I'm really good at getting back in touch with people. If you would put in the subject line that you attended the webinar with me, I can prioritize it. And assuming that I have access to the internet, I'm not traveling, someplace, I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. And so, anyhow, this was a great evening. I'm Aaron Marcus, and I really like getting a chance to start, this relationship here, and having this great community of people who are helping each other. And that's what I do on my Facebook page as well. And so, anyhow, I'm sure we will be talking again very soon. And anyhow, have a great, happy, healthy, successful new year, and really looking forward to talking with you soon. See ya.
The organizer has ended the session, and this call will be disconnected. Goodbye.